You got to change your habits or change your goals.
Muay Thai is 50% running and 30% laundry.
Keep working on your game. Keep innovating.
I'm always winning.
What is your pro tip?
Today we're talking to Jamil, trainer at Rise Combat Sports. You've got many years experience in Muay Thai. I won't give away our age, but I think you've been at it longer than I have, and I'm
quite a bit longer.
And I'm not young anymore.
Yeah.
So I guess the first question we always ask is just like, how did you discover Muay Thai, and what kind of got you into it?
Well, actually, I was still in college at that time, and the internet was just kind of getting started, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was on a chat. I was on one of those chat things there, and I said, and then I looked up, martial arts, and then I remember someone mentioning something about Muay Thai on one of those chat things back in the day. I want to say this was 97, 98.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense for those sort of like everybody was going on AOL and just like chatting or IC.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah. I don't even remember which one it was. And then someone mentioned Fairtex, which was in San Francisco. I said, I'm in San Francisco. Never heard of it.
Yeah.
And then, and then after school one day, I went down to go look, and it was in South Market. Went down to look in this dingy little, alley. It was a stinky little alley. And then I saw the sign, it said Fairtex. And I was told that it was one of the most legit gyms there was out there.
Yeah.
And then, then I went there. I want to say I went back there about 3 days later. Might have been a Friday or something. Got introduced to Alex Gong and, some of the people at the front desk. And I saw a guy with a hat on, a little guy. He was holding pads for another little guy, and they were just going off on the pads. The other guy was going off on the pads. The guy holding the pads, I thought he was a kid. He had a hat backwards. I thought he was a kid. Who's this kid training another kid? Turned out that kid was bunkered.
Oh, really?
And I thought he was a kid, but he wasn't. And then I was like, man, these guys are going off on the pads. And then, after I saw that, I said, wow, this really looks legit. So. Yeah, and then I signed up, like, I want to say about a week later or so.
Okay.
And we started training. It was bunkered. I want to say it was bunkered and Ganyao were the two Thai trainers there at that time.
Trainers.
So, yeah. So I joined in around that time. So I was still in college, and I joined, and it wasn't as big, obviously, as it is now.
Yeah, because Muay Thai really picked up a lot after the 90s. Like, I didn't discover it until like 2000s later.
Yes.
I had friends who were at early Fairtex with Alex Gong, who were the folks who sent me looking for bunkered, but he was already at Fight and Fitness by that time, which is why I ended up at the little place on Bryant Street.
Yeah. Yes, the old Fight and Fitness place. Yeah, we kind of know what happened with Alex then. So there was a bunch of us that were with Fairtex, and after Alex passed, they tried to have Fairtex run for a little bit without him. There were people. Obviously, there was also a lot of trainers there at that time, or more trainers than just Alex, or than just Bunker, Ganyao. Johnsonon was there at that time already.
Yeah.
Yes. And N was also there.
Okay.
At that time. Yeah. So there was a few trainers, Thai trainers there. And, once Alex passed, I think they were trying to figure out what they were going to do and what was going to happen with the Fairtex name. They obviously did open another Fairtex. It was different.
The main trainer there, like running, like I'm obviously post Alex, so I never got a chance to get it. Was he like the main trainer, kind of heading up the whole thing?
Alex was the owner of the original Fairtex. Yeah, he's the one that kind of started it all. At least here, I want to say they had a gym in Arizona.
That's what I've heard. That Bunkered came out first in Arizona.
Bunkered and Ganyao were there first, and then they came over here. Alex actually brought them over here to San Francisco.
That makes sense.
So
thanks.
Yeah, and then
the culture, I think, of the Muay Thai gyms in San Francisco is, I've moved around and trained in different locations, and in some places I'm at, the gyms are really competitive. If they have like a guest trainer coming in, they won't open up their their thing to everybody. They're very like, it's like gym versus gym, where I feel like in the Bay Area, because all those guys came up together, they all like know each other, and the gyms all like cross compete and like kind of work together.
So that's another thing that was interesting is that after the post Alex Gong days, or even kind of during, we kind of did know each other. So
yeah,
from smokers, fights, all that kind of stuff. So there was maybe a little bit more cross training kind of thing going on, and people who opened up new gyms. I want to say a lot of them were either from some of them were from Fairtex.
Yeah.
So there was quite a few that opened gyms, not just in the Bay Area, but I'll say all over California.
Yeah. How long were you with Fairtex then?
So I was there in, let's see, was it 97 or something like that? 97, 98, maybe is when I first started.
Okay.
Around there. Yeah, and again, only Ganyao and Bunkard were the main Thai train. It was pretty interesting starting out. It was much different because right away when us newbies who kind of went in there, we already had Thai trainers holding pads for us.
Yeah, right.
In the first few classes, because there wasn't like a lot of people.
Well, yeah, I guess people listening to this won't know the history. Like, Bunkard is sort of a known name who grew up in Thailand fighting since young child, right? He's the old school, like grew up and lived in the gym, did the whole like Muay Thai experience, and then came to the US. I think he was already 30s, 20s, but after having done a whole fight career.
He came here in his early 30s.
Yeah. Yeah. And he done a whole Thailand fight career, gym experience, and kind of brought that like traditional Thai experience into the US. Right.
Yes, he was one of the few that when you asked him how many fights he had, I would say he's not totally sure. It's well into the hundreds.
Yeah, more than he can remember. Well, those guys would fight like what, a couple times a week, like pretty
something like that. Yeah. So he was fighting. Yeah, I remember Lumpini and then Rajadam there.
Yeah,
he was fighting those at the different days
and different than us. Like I mean, well, at least for me, like he was fighting. That was his job in his life. Like I worked a full-time job and would go to the gym after. You know what I mean? So like kind of a when I could kind of thing. But like that was, he lived at the gym, he trained at the gym, he fought at the gym.
Yeah, I think that's also where sometimes people had to figure that out. Is it's a little bit different, especially coaches coming from Thailand. Is that it wasn't our job, and a lot of maybe sometimes you would have to navigate the way you train people a different way, not quite the same, because we can't rest, or usually we can't rest during the middle of the day. A lot of people don't train twice a day.
Right.
You're not going to be like killing yourself for 3 hours, although a lot of us did.
Yeah.
We did do that, but then it does take a toll, which is there are people who can do it, right? Obviously, who can train a lot and work a full-time job and go to school too. That's what I did, and I went to school, worked full-time, was trying to train all the time as well, and it's hard to balance it all out. I'll say it doesn't really balance.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I think it worked personally for me. I worked from home a lot, so it was made it a lot easier. I lived near the gym, so I could wrap up my stuff for the day and then just hop in for 2 or 3 hours. But then I was never I was never training to be a high competitive type fighter. I just loved being there.
I think that's what a majority will wanted to do, but most people don't even do that. They don't even want to step in the ring at all. I mean, the fitness part is a big thing. Obviously, most people want to do that.
Well, yeah, I guess I'm going to jump around a bit with my questions, but so you've been coaching now at Rise Combat Sports, which was Fight and Fitness, which is the gym that after Alex Gong passed, that Bunkard and Chris Curry also opened, sort of to continue on the sort of Muay Thai, their Muay Thai thing. Somebody has membership number like 12.
I'm not even in those low digits. I thought I should have been number 1, but I didn't officially join because I was like I was competing at that time, so I didn't really like join and say, hey, put me on there. I didn't tell Chris or
you were just an unofficial member.
Yeah, it was funny because I'm like number 200, something weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I should have been number one because I was training when it wasn't even a gym yet.
Yeah.
I was already training there. So yeah, there were other people that were surpassed me in the number 1 to 100. And I was like, oh, great. They got already like 100 people before me. So yeah.
I remember when I got involved later, it was even still sort of tricky with the like boxing commission about when and where you could compete. How did you guys handle that like in the early days?
Yeah, so in the beginning, obviously it wasn't as regulated, I would say.
Yeah.
Smokers were free for alls, basically.
It was just open gym kind of thing.
Yeah, anyone can kind of go in.
Yeah.
You pay your fee. It was as low as $5 to as high as 30.
Yeah.
And if you could get away with not paying, sometimes you didn't pay. And they didn't question. They didn't really. There wasn't really a questioning on your experience.
There's no doctor check.
Yeah, I remember people walking off the street and did a smoker. Didn't end well for some of them.
Well, did they have any experience, or were they just like, I'm going to try this? I want to fight somebody?
Both. I've seen both.
Okay.
And not only at our gym, but I've seen it in other gyms where a guy would come off the street and say, oh, yeah, I used to do martial arts or do something, or I used to box.
Yeah.
Can I try this? And then sometimes or oftentimes they would say, yeah, just go in.
Yeah.
And then some of them look good.
It's pretty open door. Even when I got in and did my first smoker, like I said, I didn't really talk to people and prepare for it. I just was like, I've been training for a month or two. I feel good. And I got my ass kicked, but it was very much, they're just like, yeah, go for it. Like,
yeah, that was, it was a more blasé, I was feeling back then to kind of do stuff. You weren't trying to prepare, or you were trying to prepare, I guess. Yeah. But, especially when I first started doing it, they're like, oh yeah, no, there's a smoker coming up on Saturday. We want you to do it. And I actually wouldn't say no. I'll say sure.
Just try it out.
Yeah. Even if I didn't train for a while, I'll just jump in.
I kind of imagine it was the culture of these guys who grew up fighting like twice a week professionally. So for them, it's no big deal.
Yeah, that's that is the culture, their culture.
Yeah.
So they didn't think it was a big deal. Yeah. It was basically like hard sparring.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the ring all the time. So yeah, it wasn't regulated either. There were no commissions, no doctors, no. Maybe if there was a doctor in the house, then it would help. But we didn't have that luxury all the time.
I only did one smoker where I had a doctor check beforehand. And it was
beforehand, not after.
Yeah, remember Linda? She had with Dekwat in Oakland.
Yeah,
I did a smoker with her, and she was very organized. And she had before you went into fight, they did a quick medical check, like just simple blood pressure, whatever kind of thing. That's the only time anybody even like made sure I had a pulse.
Yeah. So there was some people that went in there, and I knew they shouldn't have been in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking, why did you even let them go in there? They were just getting destroyed.
Well, that was my experience. After the first round, I was like, I don't belong here. And
but
you have too much pride. I've got 2 more rounds to go. And I was like, I'm not going to stop. So you
I think also the feeling back then was a little bit different. The demographic might have even been more different. More people who probably, I don't know, they thought they were tough guys.
Yeah.
Wanted to jump in.
Well, what was the gym size like? Like, I know, like, were the classes big?
Well, when I was first started, they were not. I'll say 10 at most. So we were like, I remember when I first started it, I did get a lot of pad holding from from Bunker and Ganya. Yeah. So it was convenient, but as it got bigger, they couldn't hold, and then that's when we had to start learning how to hold for each other.
Right.
So
yeah.
Because
now, I think your classes are the ones I used to see where like you get 25, 30 folks in the class.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you'll have way too many.
Yeah.
Running out of pads. Yeah. You'll have run out. Yeah. So a lot of beginners though. There'll be a lot.
Yeah. How do you balance that? Like as a trainer, you have a class, right? And you've got some folks who are pretty athletic and experienced. bulk of them are probably sort of just trying it out after work. Like, how do you balance the class where everybody kind of gets what they want?
I usually separate. I will separate the very new from the more experienced. Almost always, I'll do that, unless it's like someone who was with a friend who was more experienced. Then I say, try to help them out. Because they don't usually want to separate. So, unless they want to, then I'll pull them aside, teach them, stance, jab, the usual stuff, how to strike, kick, strike, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would definitely try to separate it because it almost makes no sense to have them in a regular class.
Well, it's kind of bad for both parties, right? The person who's more experienced isn't getting a good session. The person who's new is probably not feeling very comfortable.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why it's always best to pull them aside, and so they can learn a little bit of the basics, before they jump in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I do. Separate them. That's why I say if you have a big class, it is more advantageous to have more than one person
coaching.
Coaching that is.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that too, where there'll be a coach and then like an assistant or a helper or somebody who will.
Yeah.
Or I remember when I was there, when Bunker had a big class and the new students, those of us who were in the ring just doing pads on our own, he would come pull me out and be like, hold for this person,
Yeah.
You recruited to hold for somebody.
Yeah, that still occurs.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like you get somebody, and again, I think you probably see this too with your classes. You got a range of personalities. Some people really want to fight. Some people want to hurt people. Some people want to get a workout, and like you kind of have to mesh that group.
Yeah, you got to kind of see where people are at, and you kind of could tell after maybe a little bit of time. You kind of know where they're at, and they'll change their mind too,
right?
What they really want to do, how it is.
How do you know, or what's your best guess when someone's new but tells you they want to compete if they're getting ready?
If they're very new, and I know how they and I see them or have seen them a few times, I usually would tell them, what's up, like don't do it right now, or it might be a while.
Spar first or something.
Yeah, and or maybe not even that. Just hit pads more.
Yeah.
Like be better in your technique before you can. You gotta be able to walk before you can run.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I think something that what I found really surprising is like throwing a punch and even the stance. It's not intuitive. Like you don't just do it naturally the right way. Like it has to be practiced.
Yeah, you have to. There's a lot of little things that thing. I mean, I noticed that athleticism part. With a lot of people, especially the young people, they can pick it up quicker.
Yeah.
But they'll still not do it, totally perfect the first time. But there are people who can pick it up really quick.
Yeah.
And they're usually it has to do with their athleticism. Younger people, of course, are the fastest ones to pick things up. So yeah.
Well, those kicks are hard. Like you got to have good hip flexibility, which those of us who sit in a chair and work all day like don't naturally,
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people. I'll say that their kicking, definitely needs to improve, right? Especially I don't want to say I'm a Westerner too, so yeah, a lot of people from the West.
But it's like that's our culture, sitting and working on a computer.
Yeah, sitting down. I mean, how many people play soccer?
Right.
So yeah, it's that kind of thing where a lot of people don't. So if you're gonna try to kick, you gotta learn how to do it correctly.
Yeah. I feel like when I see people who have the tight, I guess it's hamstrings, you see that lean back to try to.
Oh yeah.
Make it work.
Yeah, I was one of them too. I probably still am.
I definitely remember moments early on where I thought I was really good, kicking the bag really hard, and it was at the Bryant Street where it was dripping condensation from the roof.
Oh yeah.
And going for a big kick on a pad and just falling on your ass, like you're playing.
Yeah. You go too high and then that's happened to me as well.
Yeah. So as you do this, are you working with a lot of folks who are trying to compete, or is most of your class?
Not right now. I have trained a few people, even MMA. I helped out a couple at least. that did MMA as well. Obviously, I'm not going to teach the ground game because I know nothing about that.
Yeah.
But just the striking part, kicking.
Yeah.
But obviously that part is hard because there's too many facets in MMA. So balancing that out is, that's pretty hard itself.
Yeah, it's a lot of different techniques. Like Muay Thai itself is its own thing.
I prefer that. I prefer to coach just that than the MMA part because that seems it's just one part, of many things you have to learn.
Yeah.
So
for folks who are kind of new coming in and maybe want to compete, like, do you kind of have advice for them for how to approach it?
Well, just just start slow. Don't think you're gonna go in one class and then you're gonna be Bruce Lee or Van Damme or something. Doing that kind of stuff. I'll say take it very slow in the beginning. At least maybe a month, and then see what you can do in there, and not even against people, just on the pads or on the bag.
Yeah.
And everything should be. I always tell people this, we're not going to be perfect, but you can always try to be.
Right.
You can always try to be perfect.
I think it's very much like a sort of martial art. Probably transcends the jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and everything, is that you aspire to do everything just right, and you never make it, but it's that trying to get to that 99%.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the goal, is to try to be as good as you can. When you're doing things, because obviously when we're in there, you get tired. There's fatigue. There's injuries. There's all kinds of things that that's gonna keep you from being as good as you can be, really. So I think when you can do it well.
In terms of like, I know you've competed like a little bit, and help some folks compete. How do you balance that being sort of ready to compete versus not getting injured? Because I know a lot of times, a lot of the injuries happen in the preparation.
I'll say majority usually does, because a lot of people already are injured.
Yeah.
Whether it's made something big or not, and it could turn into something big. So I think to balance that is, don't do things that'll injure the things further, or try not to injure yourself any more than you already are. So and learn when to back off. I think that comes with experience. Just learn to back off when you're training, and what you can do, despite your injuries, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things that I felt like I didn't hear people talk about a lot, even though everybody sort of experienced some injuries, minor or pretty big, like.
Anything from like minor tears or old injuries that just pop up.
Come back.
I have a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
So I used a lot of duct tape.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like everybody I knew who practiced regularly was a master at taping taping fingers, like whatever you had to tape up.
Yeah, whatever you can do to do it. But again, we're a lot of us here are doing it for fun, so it's not for a job. So you be able to regulate what you're doing too. And is it worth it? How far are you going to go to do it? And not be able to walk into work the next day.
Right.
That kind of thing, which I have been in. So
when you are training or working with folks who are trying to compete, do you have like a different way you want them to approach training and preparing than somebody who might just be kind of coming after work to get a great workout?
Oh yeah. The ones who are trying to compete, they're gonna get a lot more.
Yeah.
They're gonna get they're gonna get the hammer more.
So is it higher intensity, longer training?
Definitely, yeah. It could be intensity. It could be because I want to, you want to see their mindset too, like where they're at.
Yeah.
And you could gauge that more when you're training them.
Yeah.
And you could see it amongst people. I'm sure you've seen it too. Like, when someone, they're willing to compete in there, and if you're just going there for just getting a good workout, there's it's like night and day kind of thing. Yeah. I'll say that the people who are trying to compete, the fitness part, is like, I won't say it's secondary, but you should be fit.
That's kind of
already.
a prerequisite, I think.
Yeah, it's like, you should be fit. You shouldn't be like, complaining that you're tired. I mean, yeah, we're always tired, right?
Yeah.
But we're over here.
Yeah.
But, that's not a big deal. Everyone's going to be tired anyway.
Right.
So, yeah, that's something that, so fitness is just one part of it. The techniques and like, I guess the mindset is, some of the other facets that you need to have if you're competing.
Well,
more than anything.
It's a big surprise when the first time you start getting hit like hard, and then
Yeah.
being able to stay present and focused and engaged, not just like, it can shake you.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, you're not going to be thinking of anything else. You're going to be in the moment. There, you're not thinking what you didn't do at work today.
No, I always really appreciate that about even sometimes the hard bed work, pads or bags, like you kind of have this, you're just immediately focused in the moment. Like,
definitely,
it's a forced moment of zen. There's nothing else you can think about.
Oh yeah, because it's it's because it's hard, right? I think because it's hard on you. So yeah, but yeah, for the people who are wanting to compete out there, I think they should be, have that extra edge of mindset too.
Would that mean more like where do you gauge the level of like sparring for hard, medium, light for folks at that level?
I'll say they don't always have to spar hard, but they should know how to.
Right.
And you're not going to always spar with technique all the time.
Yeah.
I think that was another difference as I saw here is we don't fight enough, like in Thailand or maybe even other places. We don't fight enough here to get as much technique, I guess, in the ring. So, I don't know. I want to say they're fighting. A lot of people are fighting like every month, every few weeks.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be injured. So they're not sparring hard all the time. Over here, people are fighting every few months, if even that.
Yeah.
Maybe not even every other month, I would say. So yeah, there's so you have to be ready. So I'll say hard sparring is needed at some points. Yeah, for sure, for a training camp.
Yeah, I've heard that about the training in Thailand. I don't know if so much now, because I know a lot of training in Thailand is now geared towards Westerners because it's a big business.
Oh, there's a lot of Westerners there.
But I know historically, like from what I've heard, I've never been, but that a lot of the training was they'd spar pretty light, and it was more a playful sparring than trying to win because they knew they were going to be fighting shortly.
Yeah.
So there was no point in getting hurt. It was more about getting the reflex, getting comfortable, and going through the motions than it was about getting comfortable with the intensity of what a fight can do.
Yeah. That's true. The thing is, though, with them too, and although saying that being said, is I have seen hard sparring there amongst the Thais.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes they just decide to go at it for some reason, and those are when people, start laying the bets.
It becomes a fight.
Yeah, it becomes a fight, but and you hear a lot of yelling, "Yay, oh!" All that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'll see that. But yeah, more for the most part, they go more technique than anything else. With the sparring.
Is there much sparring in your classes?
Not in mine. I'm just doing the. Actually, right now I'm doing the Saturday morning. So I'll say there's more. Not quite a lot of beginners, but there are beginners in my class, and people I'll see not. I'll see only during my class. I don't see them always during the week.
So they come like once a week. Are you seeing a lot of more new folks? Like, is it still?
Not well. Maybe now. I'll say now. Maybe a few here and there. Yeah. It's not like before where I knew knew most people.
Yeah.
Now I kind of know of.
Yeah, I feel like when I joined, it was like there was a pre-built community of folks, and there were. I mean, I was there probably 5 or 6 nights a week. And I would see people, the same people, like 5, 6 nights a week. It was like the regular.
And we still know each other.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me that was a big part. Like it was a workout because my job required nothing but sitting, but also like I work remote, so I'm by myself in front of the computer all day. So it was a kind of a built-in community that you could just go.
Yep.
Kind of like-minded people. You can go to a bar, but you can only get drunk so many nights of the week.
That would probably cost a lot more.
Yeah.
than anything else, and you may not make it home. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, either way, but yeah, I think that's I think what draws a lot of people to is the community.
Yeah.
Of this, and I think the community of doing something together, helps a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's kind of cooperative. Like you like having somebody who holds pads well is like it's a great experience when you come in, and also somebody like I've seen this where you train with somebody a lot, they don't have to call the pads, they just show the pads.
Yeah.
And you get used to it. You have to explain, right cross, left hook.
Yeah. Call every single shot. Yeah. But especially when you have the same partner, then you kind of know each other.
Yeah.
Like that old like Mayweather thing where he's just hitting pads and with his deceased uncle now. But yeah, they wouldn't even like sometimes they would do it blindfolded.
Really, they just know
that they knew each other. Yeah, knew each other so well.
And I think that's a big part of the training. And I think that's sort of the way I saw it, which I think Fight and Fitness now Rise does, is sort of the old Fairtex model of tons of repetition, right? You just work through I remember Nuxian would do long combos, but generally not too long, 5, 6, 7 thing combos and just repeat them infinitely.
Over and over. Yeah. I think that's like, like anything else, it's doing things over and over, but doing it correctly and being able to do it, on the fly, like without thinking about it.
Yeah.
So it should be a reflex.
Well, if you are competing, there's no time to be thinking about.
Yeah, you're not going to think. Yeah. You're not like during the round, no, you're not thinking. Maybe you could think in between rounds, but sometimes it goes out the window.
Yeah. So what is your kind of thoughts or plans for Muay Thai for yourself, kind of going forward?
Well, I still like it. Yeah. So I still like training. I like the health aspect, I guess.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. And I'm going to just keep going until I can't.
Right.
I guess keep doing it until you can't, kind of thing. And I enjoy seeing the same people that are still there from, since you were, even before you were there.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of them are still there. I saw Charles yesterday.
Oh.
He was there, he showed up yesterday. And I think he might show up tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's still a few people that are still hanging around.
Yeah. There really is a community that way, I think. And people kind of get just kind of hooked on it.
Yes.
Was there anything that surprised you about it when you first started, or even now, like years later?
I think the thing in the beginning is just, just getting hit hard all the time and that it was okay.
Yeah.
So I figured out that I guess it was okay. It was not that big a deal, when you're getting, bloodied up,
yeah.
In the ring back then.
Well, there's a degree.
Yeah. But I was like, I didn't think that it was that, I thought it was at first I thought, we could just go in there and people aren't going to go off on you. But then, there's obviously you're going to have to deal with those kind of things. Like anything else, you're going to have to deal with people who are going too hard.
I think we see it now with like UFC being so popular. But I think in the 80s, you think of martial arts, you think of karate, and like you're chopping a board and you're doing like, the concept of it, I think wasn't so just fighting, and Muay Thai is it's a very kind of pure fight sport in a way. Like you are just trying to throw simple, effective combinations.
Yeah.
It's not fancy spinning back kicks.
No, not at all.
Something you can
yeah. I think that's what drew a lot of people to it. Myself especially, is that there were simple things that you could just do right away, relatively right away, in the ring. So it was adapted well to the ring for a ring sport.
Right.
Obviously, it came from the battlefield.
Yeah, and I suppose that probably, I don't even know how long, generations of it developing in Thailand before it got here, like really fine-tuned it to like a pretty effective ring sport.
Oh yeah, probably one of the best, obviously,
for striking,
because people use it, in a lot of things. It's UFC, UFC has, I think, put it in the limelight.
Yeah, I think for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and when you see somebody who's a good striker in the UFC, they always kind of call out their Muay Thai combinations when they happen.
They'll say teep. They
Yeah.
they say certain things. Yeah, that are in Thai also. So yeah.
So I kind of worked through my questions here for you. I've got a few rapid fire questions. They're very simple and there's no wrong answers. But what's your favorite kind of Muay Thai drill? Particularly like for your students.
For this, well,
something to get somebody up to speed.
Yeah, it will be different. Like the ones that I like for myself are different than the ones that.
Okay, yeah. Let's get both
people.
So for you,
yeah, like for me, I like combos with like combos with hands and hands and kicks. I like those the best. But when I'm trying to teach people, I tend to try to teach them how to kick because I see that deficiency more than anything else.
Yeah.
And then maybe then I'll start doing like some of their hand combos as well.
Yeah.
I actually like Western boxing a lot, so I definitely harp maybe a little bit more than other people on how hands should be, like how punching should go. So yeah, but yeah, for me, I like the combos of hands and feet.
It's nice that changing levels, I think, was something when I kind of cued into that idea, you could suddenly handle a much better opponent if you.
Yes.
They're thinking from their feet to the top of their head, so suddenly it opens up the space they have to worry about.
Yeah. There's so many. Yeah, there's just too many options.
Yeah. And I do that when I see guys with big hands. I'll take their legs away. I can't out punch them, but I can out sweep them.
Yeah, well, you know what they say about big hands, right?
What is that? Big gloves?
Oh yeah, I don't know, big feet, I guess, but yeah.
So, what's your least favorite exercise?
I'm not sure. I maybe the clinch really, because that's hard. That's like the most tiring thing to do. But you gotta really know how to do that. Yeah. I remember Bunker always used to say, "No one knows how to do it right. You got to learn how to do it."
Yeah.
He used, when I was still competing too, we always knee sparred.
Yeah.
I see that not really being emphasized as much anymore.
Yeah.
But a lot of people knew how to clinch, if not well, good enough.
I did feel like the clinch was something that wasn't, at least when I was training, wasn't taught that much. Maybe because in the beginner, intermediate classes, it wasn't very popular, but it felt like something I didn't get into until later. Yeah.
Yeah, it went in waves, and I want to say there's different ways that people have it. The Thais actually will teach the clinch. Like no one can clinch like the Thais. Yeah. They can clinch, and they can feel you and know how to move you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I've been tossed around by people who are 70 pounds lighter than me.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen Bunker tossing a lot of big guys back in the day too. Not even that long ago. I want to say like even less than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, which would have made him in his 50s.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's very much, I think, a very technique focused thing. Yes. You feel the weight shift and you catch that moment in time. Do you have a go-to glove or favorite glove brand if you have to get a new pair of gloves?
I don't know about favorite, but I do like Reyes gloves, which are the puncher's glove. It's it's a boxing a glove that I use. Actually, just got a new pair. Not really new. It's been a few months. Yeah. But they allow people to hit really hard with those because the padding is less on the knuckle part.
It's all on the cuff.
Yeah. It's like, it's more spread out, I would say, but probably more the cuff than anything else. The only problem with those is sometimes I hurt my hands on those because there's not as much padding on the front part.
16-ounce glove?
Yeah, 16s or whatever. Yeah, I use 16s on those, but those are nice. Maybe some of the softer ones I also like. So the dichotomy of both, like the ones that are really hard and really soft. I like the soft ones because they feel good.
Yeah,
they don't hurt my hands.
You don't come home with sore hands. Yeah,
sore hands, and I guess it's good when we're sparring with them because I feel like I could go off more.
Yeah,
and not be worried.
I've experienced that too, where sometimes sparring have to slow down quite a bit because you don't want to be going too hard. But then,
yeah, you don't want to kill everybody.
You lose that speed, you're not getting strikes in.
Yeah,
so it's
it'll be different.
Balance.
Yeah. That other brand. Well, there's obviously different brands. I think Grant might have some that are protect your hands a lot too. There's one that I have right now. Oh, now I forget the name of it. It's a Japanese brand. It's a winning knockoff.
Oh, it is.
Winning,
Yeah. Okay.
Winning. Yeah. So a ring to cage actually is the name of it.
Yeah.
And I feel that they have a big padding on there, and I like those.
Yeah.
I like those as well.
I've never tried the winning gloves, but I think they're pretty pricey. I always had the Fairtex.
Those are one of the most expensive
winnings.
ones.
Yeah. Yeah. When you see winnings, usually you're like you're either pretty like committed or you've got a really good job.
Yeah, or both. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and this is another I guess tidbit you could tell people is if you're new, don't buy all that fancy stuff. Don't buy winnings. Don't think don't buy the best gear yet. Try to be better first, and then maybe spend like $300 to $500 on gloves.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I used a pair of Windy bag gloves for a long time that were just fine.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think
Windy, yeah.
They made it they made clinching easier because they were very small, which maybe wasn't very useful because when you get into a smoker and you put on 16-ounce gloves, suddenly you can't manipulate the same way. All right, well, that's all the questions I have for you, man. I really appreciate the time.
No problem.